How are you using AI for this?
So this was kind of the mass natural language processing, looking at all the literature. Because the same treatment would make 30% of kids better and 30% of kids worse. And so it's trying to figure out the outcome was the same. A cold is caused by lots of different things,
Mm.
but the thing that caused it could be so different. And so conventional medicine and medication kind of failed that. So I worked with neurologists, worked with other psychiatrists and others, and tried different medical combinations of off prescription drugs and other things to try and make his brain calmer. So then he could use applied behavioral analysis and others to reconstitute speech. And, you ended up going to mainstream school. I think it worked.
That's
I told people about it and
miraculous.
they're like, you're not a doctor. And I was like, there's a
That
big,
was the response?
well, yeah. I mean, look, with anyone who's listening to this, like, am I saying I have a cure for autism? No. I'm saying I'm a dad who tried my best and I saw results. But in order for something to become medicine, you actually have to go through a proper process. And so for me, that was building language models. That was making everything in the right structure. And then we can organize the world's autism literature, making it accessible and useful. Any parent or anyone, you may have someone in your family that has a neurological condition,
Mm.
Alzheimer's, this. So many people around the world have the same problems. Wouldn't it be wonderful if they could just find what the latest knowledge is and also the things that could work and have a holistic approach to this? And until we have this technology, you can never get there, which is one of the main drives for me to want to build this technology
Mm.
and do it in a transparent order. But you shouldn't have to trust me and what I say about this because, again, my journey as a parent is the same as anyone who's got a child with ASD. It's the same as anyone who has a family member that gets multiple sclerosis or cancer. Our systems are not good enough right now to bring us the information we need unless we find an amazing doctor and an amazing group. But now, with MedPalm, with our own models, with other things, we can finally be at that point where we're never lost, where we can say what could work. So, an example is clonazepam. It's prescribed at a 1,000 microgram dose for anxiety. At a 5 microgram dose, my son could sing because it
And he
potentiated,
was nonverbal.
it was nonverbal. And at 20 micrograms, it stops working. It's $6 a year intervention.
Hmm.
Because this is the way that like neurotransmitters work. So like when you pop a Nitol and antihistamine to go to sleep, right? What it does is it floods a whole bunch of your neurotransmitters, including the H1 neurotransmitter, and that's the one that makes you sleepy. But then other ones give you dry mouth and other things. Something like Remeron in a microdose just triggers H1. And it'll knock you out without any side effects,
Hmm.
but it's just incredibly cheap. Understanding things like neurotransmitters is not something that most of us ever have to do unless you're super hyper focused on it for years. Because I was like, I need to figure out my son's neurotransmitters. I'm talking to all the top doctors and I'm lucky because I have access to them. What do I do now? So that's when I realized that, this AI was a big thing. And actually, one of the really interesting things is why couldn't he talk? It's because he had too much noise in his brain. So you've got cup. A cup can mean a cup, or it can mean cup your hands, or cup your ears, or World Cup. He couldn't form those connections because his noise was too brain was too noisy. And so he did applied behavioral analysis, which is teaching you this is a cup, this is a cup, this is a cup with gamification to reconstruct those after his brain calmed down. It's actually very similar to this generation of AI. We described earlier how it learned principles. It's called a latent space of meaning. So that point and dot, that pixel, becomes a cup because it understands the principle of cuppiness.
Hmm.
So when you type in World Cup or cup your ears, it gives you dramatically different images. Similarly, the language models do the same. Again, it pays attention to what's important. Attention is all you need with the original paper. And again, forms this latent space of the meaning of cup within the sentence. So when it says cup, it's like, well, this is going to be a World Cup or this is going to be that. But not actively. Again, it's just a bunch of ones and zeros, a single file. And so I think that's why all this new generative AI really resonated with me. And I realized this could be the real thing that unlocks humanity or controls them forever, one of the two. Yeah, so that's kind of some of the personal story behind this. Because again, like, I don't have a cure for autism. I worked as well as I can with my son with the technology at hand.
Hmm.
However, I think that with the building blocks we're building now, us and others, there's the potential to have personalized care and knowledge for everyone who's dealing with ASD, for everyone who's dealing with multiple sclerosis or any of these other conditions, where they say there's no cure because our medical system is treats people as ergodic. And what does ergodic and ergodicity mean? It means 1,000 tosses of the coin, the same as 1,000 coins tossed at once. That's why everyone gets 500 milligrams of paracetamol. It's why a lot of people have a cytochrome P450 abnormality, kind of mutation in their liver. It means you process codeine into morphine quicker, or fentanyl into death. Yet we don't do a basic genetic test on that, because our system has to treat us as numbers, because we could never scale intelligence. We could never scale expertise. So yeah, like I said, that's some of the story behind that.